Absolutely. There are so many verses in especially the Old Testament, about taking possession, taking dominion, taking authority over the land.
Welcome to this week's WealthBuilders Podcast. Are you interested in real estate? If so, you do not want to miss today's program because Bill Bronchick is here. And Bill, you're going to be talking about dominion in real estate.
Absolutely.
This is a great
topic. You got to take possession of the land. You got to take authority over your territory.
Oh, this is going to be so good. And it ties so well into our April real estate workshop. And the theme, before we knew we were going to talk about this, is possess your land. And just a reminder that is coming up in April and you don't want to miss it. Go to wealthbuilders.org/events. You can join us in person, which is the best experience, but you can join us by live stream as well. And we have limited number of seats available. So make sure that you get tuned into that workshop and come and join us. Also, I just want to remind you, we've got this free PDF download of Billy's booklet that is called Financial Breakthrough, Embracing God's Plan for Abundance. And you can go to wealthbuilders.org/break-through and get this PDF download completely free. All right, so Bill, I'm pretty excited about us talking on this topic because there's sometimes this well, God doesn't want me rich, right? But yet the Word of God is about taking dominion, authority, and possessing the land.
Absolutely. There are so many verses in especially the Old Testament, about taking possession, taking dominion, taking authority over the land. It was called the Promised Land for a reason, because He promised it. And He's promised it to Abraham and his descendants, and through Jesus, people who are on the branch of the tree, they're all entitled to the promise. And it's not just about the Promised Land of Israel. It's about taking possession and dominion over the world in entirety. Paul said that Abraham, through his seed, would give you possession not just of the Promised Land, but of all the land, all of the earth, dominion of all the territory. That doesn't mean we're going to conquer the world and be imperialists. I don't know about we're going to go that far. But God does want you to take authority and dominion over the territory that you are assigned to.
Yes.
And one of the ways you do that is to own real estate in that territory. That gives you a spiritual connection through the land. Because the land, the promise of the land from God, was His way of connecting to His people through that promise. And we all have a spiritual connection to the land because we were created from the dust of the earth. So we don't have a physical connection, but we have a spiritual connection to the earth. And through taking possession of Canaan and farming it, and God promised multiple times that His people would prosper in the land, would prosper in the promised land, and they did. And of course, all the way through Solomon, when everybody prospered and everybody got wealthy and everybody made money off the land, except for the Levites, but they got God as their promise, so they got the best reward.
That's so good. And the Word of God says, the earth and the fullness thereof belongs to the Lord. And so when we're His children, we're stewarding the earth for Him, and the land is very, very important.
That's right.
And Bill, you've got a book that you are working on that's coming out soon that is on this topic. So do you want to share a little bit about that and maybe hit some of those things that you're going to be covering in that book today?
Yes. Talking about one of the important things is the building of altars in the land. If you remember when God called on Abraham to leave his family behind and go on a journey, He built altars in different places, 4 or 5 altars. And those altars to God are what gives the connection to that land through. And remember, Jacob later fell asleep on the rock in one of those altars and then had the wrestle with God. And that is a very important thing in your investment in real estate and buying real estate. Is it's an altar to God.
Wow. It's a way to honor Him. And so, you own a lot of real estate, a lot, if I can just say. And so how do you, in your personal real estate investing, tie these scriptures into how you handle your real estate on a daily basis?
Great. Well, I don't manage my properties personally anymore, but it used to be an opportunity to come to people and spread the word, but I can't do that personally anymore. But one of the ways that I've done it over the years is, for example, using a unit from an apartment building or a house as a special cause. Meaning, because it's a landlord's market right now. Everybody knows that. I mean, tenants are not in the driver's seat right now. Landlords are. So someone who has just come out of jail, come out of a halfway house, a battered woman's shelter, they have no job, they have no references, they have no security deposit. Landlords are not going to take these people. Right. So it's an opportunity that we use to give people with special cases an opportunity to thrive and prosper. And you know what? Most of the time it worked out. Sometimes it did.
But you were prepared for that.
We were prepared for that. We were willing to take that risk. But for the default rate wasn't really substantially higher than the average tenant was. So when you give people a chance to do it, you can come in without a security deposit, or you could pay it over several months, and you could pay a lesser rent or no rent until you get your job and your situation worked out financially. And sometimes some of the faith organizations that referred them in would help them out too. Especially, I found out the LDS church, boy, we had someone refer a couple in, and they didn't pay for a couple of months. And within 24 hours of notifying them, we got a check overnighted.
Wow.
Those people really take care of each other.
That is amazing.
And that's the way it should be, instead of the government doing it, Section 8 and all that. We, I think, together as believers should take care of each other within the church financially, in that to an extent. I mean, some people, we don't want to create a welfare state within the church, but helping each other is better than squeezing it out of rich people and forcing it on the poor people who depend on it constantly from year to year, and then you try to get their votes every year. But we're not going to talk about that.
I think that's a great example of things like Dan Dyer would share, that for people that would pay their rent really well in December, he would just bless them, and they didn't have to pay rent in December. Yeah. So he didn't tell them that up front. But when he got to that point, he felt led to do that. That's one of the ways that he would bless people.
That's a nice gesture.
Yeah. And so I really like that idea. And then I think the question comes where, and I hear this from people too, they're like, well, we're Christians. If someone doesn't pay their rent or they do something, shouldn't we just say, oh, it's okay? And so how do you balance, you know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. I've come across a lot of situations with motivated sellers, and my rule for buying a property is, number one, it's got to be profitable, and number two, I have to put the seller in a better position than I found them. I don't want to do something that's just profitable for me and puts them in a bad place.
Right.
And I don't want to help them out and make no money either, because my business itself is not a nonprofit. It is a for-profit, and through that profit, I'm able to bless others. So my model is different in that sense. I probably wouldn't give people free rent like that, because, it's a way of giving. Yeah. But I use my profit as a way to bless other people in other ways. So, for example, as a practical thing, a lot of people would give things like turkeys around Christmas or Thanksgiving, or a gift card to, a supermarket or something like that. What I would do is I would say, hey, here's a gift card to Home Depot when they're going to do something to improve my property with. Yes. So, there's a practical side of that. And there's also, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to give free rent for December, hey, then your business is the charitable giver. My business in particular, other than the special circumstances, is a profit model. But I use those profits to bless other organizations and people.
I really like that, because what you're describing is, for example, if someone rented your property and then they decided to trash it and not pay rent, they're kind of forcing you maybe to give them charity, but you're saying that, like, no, I'm in the driver's seat. So you make the money, you're a very good businessman, an incredible lawyer. And so with the profits that you take, you make those decisions with God on how you're going to bless people.
Right.
And I think that actually provides a lot of clarity, because Christians will feel guilty. Well, gosh, they can't pay their rent.
Right.
And all at once, feeling like they should take on that responsibility. So can you just share a little bit more about your perspective on that? If somebody is trashing your house, not paying rent, how scripturally, can we walk through that and know, like, no, it's okay for us to run our businesses in a way that people don't take advantage.
Right. Well, God said we should give out of joy, out of our heart.
It's good.
If someone is trashing my house and not paying rent, I'm doing it out of guilt.
That's so
And you never want
good.
to give out of guilt or obligation. You want to give out of joy from your heart. What your heart tells you, God's telling you through your heart, you should help these people.
Yes.
And sometimes there's people in the same category. And I don't want to get into like, well, they don't deserve it. Who really deserves help versus who doesn't deserve, who appreciates it and doesn't. I don't believe that's a way to give.
Right.
Because I used to do, when I was younger, Meals on Wheels and deliver turkeys and things to poor people on welfare and go to their homes. And they would just sometimes open the door, grab it and slam the door on me and not say thanks. And, and my ex-wife, she gets so upset. She goes, they don't appreciate anything. I'm like, we're not doing it for their appreciation.
So good.
We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And don't take that personally. So you got to give out of your heart's desire and that calling within you that stirs up. It says, I am joyfully giving. And I don't care if they like it or not, or appreciate it, or say thank you. It's just the way it is.
That's so good. I really like how you clarified and I think this is something that a lot of Christians deal with when they're going into business and they're trying to figure out and navigate, where am I now not acting Christian-like, and where do I actually want to give people a break or do something? And I really love that comparison to giving out of joy. And we're supposed to give out of our heart, right? Not out of compulsion, right? Or someone forcing us, yet doing it out of guilt. And I just think that there's some people that you've heard this, and this has answered a question for you. This is helping bring clarity to that pathway to be a business person, and yet walk within your Christian walk. So, Bill, I just think that is a really, really good point that you brought up.
Great, thank you. Being a believer doesn't always mean you have to be nice. Because people go, well, Jesus was nice. No, he wasn't. He was kind. But he wasn't nice to the Pharisees and a lot of other people. And when he said, when he sent his followers out and said, you go to someone's house, and if they reject you, you dust off your shoes, you kick it off, and you walk away. That's not nice. But being kind and merciful is a different thing.
And speaking the truth in love. Right. Like knowing that I know you don't want to hear this, but you need to hear this.
And that's not necessarily being nice.
You're right. That's so true.
Being firm and being strong. And so it's okay to be kind, but if you're nice to everybody, then I don't think you're being truthful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really helpful. Really, really helpful. Okay, so when we talk about possessing the land and dominion and authority, Bill, what are some things that you see in the scriptures or God's revealed to you about what we actually are able to bring forth when we do own real estate? Like, how does that bring transformation? How does that impact God's kingdom?
Well, I think that the enemy wants everyone to be a renter forever.
And own nothing.
I know nothing. And when you own property within, everybody's got a territory. And I think God assigns people certain territories to have dominion over. Some people it's the state, some people pray for the country, some people it's the city, some people it's just the neighborhood. Different people have different assignments. And whatever you have been assigned to, when you own real estate in that area, you're taking dominion over the land, and you are fighting in the spiritual sense. You're getting in that spiritual warfare of people who, and through the enemy or and his minions, don't want you to control. Because when you own real estate, you have control. And the enemy does not want us to have control. And it also gives you authority. And you have authority. The more you own real estate in an area, the more authority you have. Not just in the spiritual sense, but politically. You have connections, you have people know you, and you have more influence that way. And the more influence you have over your community, the more you can spread God's message.
That's so good. You know, growing up, I grew up in southern Minnesota, and my dad is a banker. My mom is a housewife. And they both their parents owned farms. They both came over, or their parents, I guess, came over from Germany. And I remember early on, Bill, that my parents they had 3 kids within 5 years. So they were busy, they were stretched, we're all hitting college, but they did everything that they could to purchase the family farms. So they got a loan. They really, it was tight to make payments. But I still remember my mom saying, we want to have these farms so that if us, our grandkids, or the generations ever need a place to go, they have a place to go.
That's right.
And that just stuck with me. But then also just the reality of how much the land meant to my father. So he's 93. And when I went to visit him a few years ago, he wanted to drive around and look at the land and go to the cemeteries, if you can believe it, and just go through and show me all the generations that had been there in that land. And I didn't understand why that land was so important to him to stay in the family. But what you're describing is there is a connection, and it's a place for us, not only to bring transformation through the Word of God, through owning real estate, but it's a way for us to bring stability for the generations of our families.
That's right. It is a generational thing, real estate.
Yes.
It's something that I want my children to have, and I want their children to have, and make it a multi-generational wealth transfer.
Yes.
And it'll go up in value. And part of me says, a lot of people want to do this, they want to rush to pay it all off to leave it to their kids. And I say, we weren't handed real estate free.
No.
Maybe we should refinance some, take some money out, enjoy our retirement, and let the kids work for what we did. And then they can do the same with the grandkids and the next generation thereafter. So don't be such a, I have to, as some people don't want to have reverse mortgages, which I think are actually an excellent tool, because they say, well, there'll be nothing left to my child. What do you think your child's going to do when you die with that house? If they didn't grow up in it, they're going to sell it. It doesn't mean anything to them. So it's okay to enjoy the fruits of your labor while you're alive to some extent. That you have to leave an inheritance to your grandchildren, according to Solomon. But that doesn't mean that you have to toil your whole life and sacrifice to the point where you don't enjoy yourself, the fruits of your labor, and leave it all, rush to leave it all to your kids who may squander it.
Well, this is really an interesting point too, because one of the things that we're running into, which has been a big opportunity for us, is when families are not trained in what we're talking about. All they're looking at is they want to get as much cash out at the sale as possible.
Right.
But what they're missing is the ability to teach your children how to build wealth, teach your grandchildren, own multiple properties, bring improvement. But it's this whole thing, and that's really what Wealth Builders is all about. What Billy and Becky are about is this is how you build wealth God's way. Oh, and by the way, it brings transformation to neighborhoods, and it builds generational wealth, which allows our kids and grandkids to continue to have an impact in this world. Well, we've run into 2 situations where we were able to pick up properties well below the market value on them because their elderly parents lived in it and they couldn't keep up with the properties anymore. And instead of the children having this mentality of, oh my goodness, I want to buy this, which my dad, out of 7 kids, was the only kid that wanted to buy that farm. But it was an understanding of what it meant and what the land meant.
Yes.
So with that, none of these children had that understanding. So that's where we believe that's where the transfer of wealth happens.
Exactly.
Because we're taking that property in, we're restoring its beauty. We are making it not an eyesore, but a wonderful place for people to enjoy. And we're doing it together as a family, knowing that this is going to bring blessing to little Coco now and our other grandchildren, I'm sure that's coming, and great grandchildren. But that's a shift in thinking. So there's a world thinking where, oh my gosh, I'm just going to get as much as possible. So who knows what they're going to do with their money. And then there's this long-term biblical thinking that we're going to sow something into this. We're going to reap a harvest. We're going to work with our family, and we're going to bring transformation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do a lot of estate planning for clients who have real estate.
That's right.
And the biggest fear that most of them have is, I've built this empire, or my kids are just going to pull it apart and sell it off when I'm gone. And some of the things we do is put in clauses that say you can't sell the property for at least 5 years. And it forces them to learn the business. And hopefully they say, now I get it, why you kept this property. And even one or two required of the children and grandchildren to take Billy's XXX training before they could sell the property.
That is so good. And you know, Bill, this is really an important part of Wealth Builders, because we have started the Young Entrepreneurs, Young Real Estate Investors Network. We have encouraged people. We have people in our coaching program that are in there with their kids because they're learning together. But we also have people that come to us, and that's what they say is, I didn't teach my children. They're going to squander it. So I would just tell you that if you have children, grandchildren, if you've got an estate, property, things that you want to pass along, businesses. Teach them. And Wealth Builders, that's what we are all about at Wealth Builders. And so get them connected, bring them to this workshop. We make it fun. We actually attract a lot of young people at Wealth Builders because there's an entrepreneurial spirit, I believe, in our kids, our age and younger. So this is really an important thing to tap into, Bill.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, for those of you who are watching who are in the coaching program and have access to my courses on my website, I have a brand new course called Investing in Real Estate for Teens and Young Adults.
I saw that come out in email.
Yes.
So
you guys
awesome.
have free access to that.
That is so good. And those of you that are in coaching, you know how to take advantage of that. Those of you that are listening to this and maybe saying, I didn't know you had coaching, hey, learn more. We offer a 30-minute free consultation. And this is really where people are being, I would say, discipled, because we go through step by step. It's a consistent curriculum for 12 months. You get to be a part of the Wealth Builders events free of charge. There are some specialty events that we give you a discount on. We've got the young entrepreneurs. We have networking. We have really built things around helping you do just exactly what we're talking about and getting there quicker. So you can go to wealthbuilders.org and then click on coaching. We've got business coaching and real estate coaching, and you can have that consultation.
Great. And we teach you how to go out like the disciples 2 by 2 into the neighborhoods, knock on doors, try to buy the house. And if they don't want to sell it to you, you kick the dust off your shoes and you walk away.
That's exactly right. There's a lot of practical things in place on, how to look for those properties.
Yes.
Wow, that's so good. So, Bill, I can't believe we get to this point, and I look at the clock, and we're like 2 minutes. Oh, my. This is such a great topic. So what would be one or two things that you would say would be the best takeaways on this subject for our amazing family here?
One of the things that I learned this from my wife. If you're looking to buy property in an area, walk it.
Yes.
Walk it and pray. Get your feet on the land. Take your shoes off and walk on the
That's what she told me. You need to take your shoes off over here.
Take your shoes off and walk on the land, because you want to get that spiritual connection. In fact, my wife and I just went under contract for a new home that she's been dreaming about forever. Not me, but I got a happy wife, happy life. No, I actually love the home. It's beautiful. But there was another home that was under construction 2 doors away that she fell in love with. And I said, absolutely not. But she went and prayed at night, and she took 7 nails with her and walked around the property and nailed 7 nails into the ground.
Oh, my goodness.
As a sort of prophetic act. And then we got this house under contract 2 doors down.
Wow.
Same view, same, even better view than the one that she liked and nicer.
Oh my goodness. That is awesome.
That was an interesting sewing that she did there. That we ended up with this unbelievable opportunity, foreclosure deal, super discount. And
that's so good. That's really good. We have a similar story where Dave actually I think he had a dream about this, and the Lord just put on his heart to go after off-market deals. Mm-hmm. And we didn't really know. We didn't have any leads. We were kind of just trying to learn how we might do that. And literally within, I think it was a couple weeks, a friend of ours called and said, hey, I've got this property. It's an off-market deal. I just can't take it right now. Is this something you'd want to look at? But it was connecting with that word, or sometimes it's that desire in our heart, connecting with that, and then realizing that we're going to say yes to it. And then also do what we can in the natural, but just trusting that God's got a pathway.
Absolutely.
And I love that, because here you ended up with probably a nicer home than that one that she was looking at. And God just went above all that you could ask or think.
It was more than I could ask for.
That's so great. Wow. I hope this has been encouraging. I'm encouraged. I would love to sit here and just continue with this conversation. But I hope this has been encouraging for you. And again, come and be a part of that workshop that we have coming up in April. Go to wealthbuilders.org/events. And just a reminder of the free download, The Financial Breakthrough, Embracing God's Plan for Abundance. You can get this at wealthbuilders.org/break-through. And that information will be in the bottom of your screen as well. So Bill, thanks so much for being a part of this podcast.
Pleasure.
Thanks all of you, our Wealth Builders family, for tuning in. Please share this podcast with others. We really appreciate your faithfulness, and we're seeing tremendous growth. So God bless you, and have an amazing rest of your day.